That's not very good. Oh man, not much light in this truck, is there? Early morning run. Trying to position this mount. If I can even mount it in there. Oh yeah. There we go. Well, as you can tell by the title, my worst substitute is having to be used this morning, and that would be me. Had a little debacle yesterday with my weekend guy. For some reason or another, they've got him disqualified. Why is that really shaking? Let me see if I can just remount that. Alright, orientation. Stay the same. Da-da-da. Let's see if this is any better. Not a lot. I put it right there. Now, let's see if I can hold on to it without losing it. As you can tell, it's early morning. The light's not even out, so I've had to having to use a little overhead light there to let the camera even see me. Do a little early morning run down to Greensboro. Do part of a run. I'm not going to do a full run. I'm going to do a run down to Greensboro to get my loads going to Savannah. And my substitute driver will be, I've got a driver to pick them up out of Charlotte, so I won't have to run the entire trip. But consider my substitute driver had to work over, well, not my substitute, my driver that normally, my weekend driver, evidently somewhere in the paperwork, we don't know if it's a random drug test that was not given to us to give to him, that eliminates something. There's all sorts of little crazy things that can get somebody disqualified or taken out of the system. And he got taken out. And on a Saturday, you can't fix it. You had to wait till Monday to somebody in corporate and say, oh yeah, he needs to do this, this, or this. And then we'll get him back in the system. I don't know what it is. We tried to check as many things as we thought were possible yesterday to figure it out. But when you work for a major corporation, you've got to adhere to the rules and the regulations of that. Some people like it, some people don't. And yesterday it was aggravating for me. It was aggravating for the people at dispatch because they would like to not have gone through that problem, and it's more of a clerical error than anything else. So we'll deal with it. bright full moon out this morning, early Sunday morning. Get on down here to Charlotte, pick up my loads and go with it. Go with the flow. And then we'll see what happens. I guess I need to get out. Well, I actually have to stay qualified. I have to get out here and log in and drive a little bit as a driver slash contractor. So I don't mind too much running something early and running something short. I don't want to run 500 or 600 mile ones no more than I have to. I've got too many other duties to do other than driving the truck as a contractor. So that's, but you know, that being said, I still know how to do it. I'm still capable, still physically fit enough to do it. So I'm fortunate there. I'm glad to be physically fit enough to still do this at my age. And I always say my age because I don't feel the age that I am, but I am getting on up there in age. I'll be 67 in June. And to me, when I say that, it sounds old. To feel it, I don't feel that old. A lot of people say I don't act that old or don't look that old. But I am, unfortunately. Or fortunately, it's two different ways of looking at it. I'm fortunate that I am that age and I've made it to 67. The unfortunate thing like that is my dad only made it to 65. So I do feel fortunate that I've made it past that. And like a lot of people, when that happened, when I turned 65, it was sort of a defining moment for me because I knew that was the same age that I lost my dad. So my goal, of course, is to be as healthy as I can. Hopefully not have some of the issues that Dad had. Dad was a diabetic. He had type 2 diabetes and was on the pill, and so he could continue driving. Dad was scared of needles like I am. I hate needles, so I wouldn't want to do anything that had the needles. Back then, unless you had it completely under control, you couldn't drive a truck. You couldn't, if you were put on the needle, it would take you out of the trucking industry. So, you know, he had to revert to the pills and the other substitutes or whatever. But, you know, it happens. Dad had a heart attack. He had a heart attack when he was, like I said, he was 65 in a few months. My dad drove a truck for 38 years for Carolina Freight, and you know, provided a very good living for a mom and the 4 boys. 3 brothers. We all 3 have worked in the trucking industry at some point in our life. All 4 of us have worked at Carolina Freight at some point in our life. I worked there about 12 years as a yard switcher and a local driver. My brother Don, he put in about 18 years there as a mechanic. Don's the oldest of those 4 boys. My brother D, he worked there as a billing clerk while he was in high school and when he was in college. And then after he got out of college, he went into the banking business. And then after that, switched over to Postal Service. He retired as a postmaster. My youngest brother, Perry, he worked at Carolina Freight, worked in the recap shop. And then after working in that for a year or so, he moved on and got into the trucking business and other locations. And then finally came back to work for me. And Perry had actually worked as he worked at Postal System too as a truck driver. And then came back to work for me at RPS / FedEx. And has been with me for the past 27 years, I think. 25, 26, 27 years. Perry has worked for me. Perry works for me in any capacity that I need. I have contracts with FedEx and Amazon. Perry will he'll do either one that I need. He's a very loyal brother. I'm trying to look after him, and he's tried to look after me. We've worked real good together. A lot of times brothers can't work good together, but Perry and I have had a real good working relationship. I try to go out of my way and do a few special things for him. He's got a company vehicle, and he's of course he needs one because he never knows where he's going, and I never know where I'm going to send him. Sometimes if I have drivers that are out and they work out of Greensboro, he'll drive to Greensboro and run the run. He'll like I say, he'll move equipment around for me. He'll do any run that I need. I don't ever assign Perry specific runs anymore. I mean, he's more my utility guy, which is very handy for me. Perry will run anything. He's never said no to me unless he was really sick or something like that. But I don't even worry about Perry turning me down. I mean, a lot of drivers will turn you down and won't say, "Oh, I got this going on," or "I got that going on," or whatever, and they'll make an excuse. I can't go because Little Jimmy's ball game's next Thursday or something. You know, there's always an excuse people will give you if they don't want to do the task. But I will have to say, Perry, I mean, if he can't do it, there's really something wrong. The only thing Perry won't do, and this is because of what happened, Perry won't run any kind of team run for me. And I can understand why he won't, because I had him in a team run, and the boy fell asleep and laid in the truck while Perry was in the sleeper. And that, could have been real tragic because the driver was going up Fancy Gap, made it all the way up Fancy Gap, and right after he made the hill, was going back down, sort of toward more level ground, he fell asleep. The boy had sleep apnea and fell asleep and laid it over in a ditch. And ever since then, Perry's been spooked about riding with anybody. The only one he will ride with on some is me. He and I have got a few things, but anybody else, he won't ride in a truck with. And I can't blame him. Cannot blame him in the least. So that's the way I feel about my brother Perry. He's, like I said, very, very, very loyal. Very loyal and very, very dependable. Yesterday, early morning, I was headed out for something that was a little more pleasurable. Well, I say pleasurable. I went down to Z-Max Dragway yesterday. In some ways, that'll wear you out too. All the walking and the loud noise. Boy, is that stuff loud. I've never experienced those top fuel dragsters like that. I mean, if you want to be surprised at how noisy and how loud and how almost violent the vibration and the sound is of those dragsters. You ought to go to Z-Max Dragway or its new sister track, the one in Las Vegas, and experience those top fuel dragsters going down the drag strip 4 at a time. I mean, it's something. It's something. I was on the end of the track, sort of midway up the track, down there at Z-Max, and to see them light those babies up. And when they came by us, and we're halfway in the track, the entire stand, and in this stand, we're not talking a little shabby stand, we're talking a well-built stadium that they have down at Z-Max. It's on cement and everything else, and then the stadium seats. But just the violence of the motors, those 1,000+ horsepower motors, or I don't even know what they are, several thousand horsepower motors, for all of those to be going by you at the same time, and the pressure that it put on the ground and everything was just phenomenal. It's something that, I've been beside jet engines firing up and taking off, and this was more horrific than that. It was something. And how these guys do that week after week after week is just mind-boggling, how their bodies can sustain that. And I've seen videos of how violent of a shake it is on the inside of the vehicle. I've seen actual video of that, and it's something. But to each his own. Some people wouldn't like the noise and the trappings that we have in these trucks either, which is not nowhere near what it used to be. These trucks are kind of luxurious now in comparison to what I started with in the 60s. Back then they were kind of rough. They were rough around the edges back then. We didn't have the air ride suspension or the air conditioning or the air ride seats. We used to have an old Bostrom spring. And then I hit a big bump. And I dropped mine here, didn't I? Let's see if we can get it to position up there better as I go down the road here. One good thing about Sunday morning traffic on the interstate, it's not too bad. Just a few cars out here. That's one reason I don't mind a trip like this. The roughest thing I got is up here, a little bouncing into sleeper on some of this famous plastic furniture that Freightliner has. You've got, I guess that's, to keep everything, the weight down and everything, they got that little flimsy little flimsy plastic on most of these sleeper vehicles. It's all fine and dandy when it's brand new, but after a truck gets a few 100,000 miles on it, it's been up and down the interstate for 4 or 5 years, that plastic kind of starts rattling. Actually, I've heard it rattled when it's fairly new too, so I guess it's just something hard for them, the manufacturers, the fine line they have to get to. I mean, they got to have something lightweight, something to put in there, but it can create an annoying rattle, and I know I hear it in a lot of trucks. And as I get older, I don't like rattles. I guess I could put up with it more when I was younger, but I want things to be quiet and relaxing. That's like, I've got an auction coming up on May 19th, and I'm selling something that I've had for about 40 years. I got a rat rod, a 29A model, that I've had for 40 years, and it was one of those projects that you say, well, I'm gonna fix it and make a nice little car. Well, I've come to the realization, one, that I'm never gonna fix it, and two, if I fixed it, it would never be a nice car. I mean, I like, when I get in my pickup truck, I'd like for it to be a nice, quiet, easy riding pickup truck. I don't want no rattly pickup truck. When I get in my car, I want it to be a nice, comfortable car. So any amount of money that I would put in a rat rod, trying to improve it or make it luxurious, or I would have to spend a fortune to get it to the level that I want. And plus, I can't get in these short cars anymore. I can't get in a Mustang. We've got a 68 Mustang, and it's okay to get in, and we like riding in it. It's 68 convertible, and I like riding in it for reminiscing, because that's what my wife had when we, that was her first car, was a 68 Mustang. And, you know, that being said, I mean, I like it okay for nostalgic purposes, and I don't mind riding in it a little bit, but getting in and out of it is a pain. I like the convenience of being able to, well, my preference is like a pickup truck or an SUV. I can just slide right in those without much trouble, and not have an issue with anything. When I get down to Charlotte, I can see to get this thing mounted a little bit better. Right now, I'm just take it easy and bobtailing down to the terminal. Just take my time. Like I said, not much traffic out here. Let everybody pass me by. Because our trucks only do 65 anyway, so I don't really have a choice. We get up to 65, we've got it predefined. It stops at 65, and actually, it's a good thing. You know, it's a little more boring. Because you like to have a little pedal to be able to get around somebody. But the statistics show that you know, speed's the most detrimental thing that we've got out here. And you know, we don't need to be we don't need to be out here speeding along. cut that off now. Got a little bit of daylight creeping through, so I think the camera can pick me up without having that overhead light on now. I started off in total darkness out there. Well, of course, we got a good full moon out tonight, so it's a little bit of ambient light, I guess you might say, or natural light from the full moon. Oh, me, I do not miss driving a truck. I put my miles in, I put my time in. And this is not what I want to do. I would much rather be sleeping in this morning than driving. Because I'd rather be sleeping in any morning than driving. Sleeping in, that's the good thing. But of course, I usually don't do that either. I'm usually getting a phone call about now, even on a Sunday morning, changing a dispatch or doing whatever. This morning I don't have that many running, so actually it's just me, and then my other driver will be picking up these loads when I get them back from Greensboro. But other than that, this is the only trip we got going this Sunday morning. I'll have some tonight, but as far as this morning, this is it. So I'm not gonna worry about it. Like the new reflective vest, that's a requirement now. FedEx has started mandating that all of us wear the reflective vest on the yard. A lot of companies do that. Amazon was already doing that. FedEx decided we've run over too many people in the yard situation, or hit somebody, or not going to take a chance. FedEx is a good company, but they do, they do employ a lot of lawyers that have every I dotted, every T crossed, every aspect of business documented way more than it used to be. I tell people that 32 years ago, when I signed my first contract with RPS, it was 2 pages, actually 1 page, but a front and back page, and that was it. I mean, I read the front page, answered the questions on it, flipped it over, answered the documents on the back, or what was stated on the back, signed at the bottom, and that was my contract. Today's contract that I've got, well, let's put it gently. It's, if you've ever read War and Peace, that's about half the size of our document. That's just large, and they want to make sure, and I can understand it in business, in the business world today, and the way you have to do is they've got to have every aspect of the business documented. They got to make sure that no one's doing anything wrong, and so that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Well, I'm gonna end this. I really don't have much to say right now. Maybe I'll pick it up later today, and we'll go from there.